to have those kingdom conversations.
Thank you, and welcome to Kingdom Conversations with Dr. Shirley and Leandra, where each week, through the grace of God, we hope to inspire women to thrive in their purpose-driven lives through lessons learned and a whole lot of wisdom.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Kingdom Conversations. I am Dr. Shirley.
And I am Leandra Williams, and welcome back to our Kingdom Conversations. We are so excited to be having you week after week. It's been a thrill to even be able to be here with my girl, Shirley, Dr. Shirley. She's amazing. I wanted to bring us back here today. We're speaking on a great topic. Ladies, this is definitely a message and a great mouthful and fruitful and nugget of information that we have for you today. Today, Dr. Shirley and we are going to be speaking on independence. I know that's a strong word, but we're going to speak on independence / submission and what it's like to be both. So I think we're restructuring a little bit what independence actually looks like for us. And I know that Shirley and I have had this conversation many of times, one, because it comes to us heavily as a responsibility and a different refocus when we speak on being a wife or when we speak on being a woman in today's society and when we speak on being a daughter of God. So what does independence look like? What does submission look like? How do we combine those two things? And how do we gear that to readjust into our every single day? I know that's a lot.
I am so excited for this topic because, right, I'm going through it too, right? If we just look at the history. But like, even, I know we talked about in our last episode, like self-worth, like you are worth,
right.
So much, you deserve great things, all of that. But also you kind of have to do some reflection.
Right.
Look on your inward, like, how humble are you? Like, are you putting down other people because you think you're so great? Like, we have to look at the whole package, right?
Exactly.
We don't want you to take our message from last time and just run with it like, yes, I am Miss Independent.
That's it. That's all she said. That's all she wrote.
Yeah. I agree with her. She is absolutely right. No, we have to break it down. And like, we understand. Miss Lily and I completely understand that. As we were preparing for this episode, I was like, girl,
we understand through trial and error. Trial and error.
When I was young, when that song came out, INDEPENDENT. Do you know what that means? She got her own house. She got her own car. 2 trucks were caught. You's a bad broad.
And guess what, girl? Then you got cut off and you had to be independent. And you had to be that independent because you weren't allowing anybody to take care of you and to be a woman and to take our place in the society. Correct? Is that what I'm getting from this? You were like, I don't need you. I could do this by myself.
And let me tell you something, because Lily, obviously her and I were raised differently. My mom did work 2 jobs. She was a single mom pretty much my entire life, but she did not force independence down my throat. She's actually like the queen of submission. She said she worships her husband and puts him on a pedestal and whatnot. I was like, yeah, lady, I don't know what that looked like. Daddy died before I could meet him. Let's just keep it real. And I was like, I don't know what submission looks like. I don't know what it means to take care of a man, even though I had a brother. He was 10 years older than me. So like, I was technically a single child. An only child.
Correct.
And when you're only child, you kind of have like selfish tendencies. And because I just saw my mom work hard, again, she wasn't throwing it down my throat like, you need to be independent. You can't depend on nobody. You got to take care of yourself. She was not like that. My mom is really soft and really sweet. I don't know where I came
It's like a little butterfly.
My husband's always like,
she's like,
Mom, you need to get a DNA test. This one is not your daughter.
She's like, I'm pretty sure I remember having and giving birth and raising her, but all right.
I just, and I think, right, also growing up in the 90s, I was born in the 80s, the early 80s. So I think like growing up in the 90s, and not only that, I actually confirmed that because I started watching like all my old 90s shows like on Netflix and Prime Video. And I'm like, Ally McBeal, Living Single, like watching these shows, and they're like, you are a 90s woman. Okay, we are independent. We don't need a man. I was like, they were teaching us this garbage back then.
They most certainly were, Shirley. And I'm the complete, like, again, we do this all the time. I'm like, flip it. Everything Shirley just said, it's like, other than the 90s shows and what they were projecting to us and what they were subconsciously putting in our minds, right? My mother and my family, we grew up in a full family with women. And
Ooh.
Independence is like, you don't need anybody. You can do this on your own. You don't have to rely on a man, or don't rely on a man. Or, that was not shoved down my throat, but it was very much so at the forefront, and it was not misunderstood, which has hindered me. But go ahead, girl, because I just had to flip, because I want to make sure we're touching two different things here. Yours is on one spectrum, mine is on the other, and that's kind of how it's funny we could still meet in the middle, but you still came to the same conclusion I did, even though it wasn't shoved down your throat. How did we do that?
Yeah, so it's so true. So I just grew up thinking I needed to be independent because I did not have a man around me to depend on, to, tell me I'm pretty, or tell me I'm okay, or, you got this. I think we were just really in survival mode, especially like as we entered the workplace too, right? Person of color. You just realize like, how come things are a lot harder for me than my former counterparts? And
like there's
why
more
am I working
obstacles,
so
you
hard?
feel like.
Yes. They really are. And everyone has different experiences for sure. I'm talking about my experience. Like, I love to learn. I love education. Like, I've got 3 degrees. My mom working 2 jobs instilled that work ethic in me. Like, be the first one in the office and be the last one to leave, and ask your manager and step up and take initiative and go above and beyond. And you're working yourself like crazy, trying to like climb this corporate ladder. And, also thinking like, oh yeah, I can totally slay in the marriage life. Like, I've got this. Not with an independent mindset.
No,
you ain't got it.
That's such a great point, because you are trying to shine in the workplace. You are trying to stand out. I always had that mindset, and I always worked extremely hard, and I, would go above and beyond. And my mindset was always like, I'm an asset to your company. So it was much so like bringing that to the table. But when you're looking and then you try to become one with a man, a dominant man, and not a dominant man where you sit down, you're the woman, pipe down, be quiet. I mean, dominant man, man of God. He is the leader. He is the head of your household. So how do we reconstruct now? How do we do that when so many homes have been broken? So many women cannot have that, story of saying that they have had a head of household man, or they had great leadership with a man, and they aren't given the space to be soft or submissive or what have you. How do we create ourselves to attract that, and to still have our own identity, but still submissive enough so we can be in our feminine standpoint, because we want to be women too, right? But we want to stand, on our own as well. We want to have a voice.
Yeah.
That's where we're going to have a meeting of the minds.
Oh my God.
And I know that there's a way to do that, because we've done it. And I know that we keep practicing, but I think there's some things that we can give. I think there's some things we can give where they can implement this in your life, guys. You implement this in your life, take it from us, or don't, what have you, whatever. But I think that this is great. And Shirley and I, this submissive talk.
My pastor says it's a cuss word. Like, ooh.
Submissive talk. I don't mean just shutting up and taking crap or taking, emotional, mental, physical abuse. That's not submissiveness. I mean, allowing somebody to lead you and you are entrusting in them to do so, and that you can sit back and allow yourself to trust in whoever you're being submissive to. So, Shirley, you and Big Pete, my brother, I love Big P. So you guys we've had a literal session on this exact topic on being submissive and what that looks like, right? And I think we all kind of want to be submissive in a way because we want to feel like that's my man. But then and then something else, our ego is coming out. So what do you do to remind yourself? Because I think you're pretty good at being submissive. What do you do to keep yourself in check to allow your man, your husband, to play his role and his part in your life?
I kind of give him the go ahead to keep me in check. Okay.
That's the truth. Because again, like we were always just in that survival mode. And for me, I did not know what it's like to have to depend on someone, to have someone take care of you. I mean, I remember when I met Peter, like we were 22-ish. And I was like, where did this guy come from? Like, is he lying about his age? Like, he was such a, no, for real. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. My mom and I thought he was lying about his age. Like, he must be 40. He was such a go-getter.
Yeah.
Like
a different mindset. He had a different mindset than everybody else's age, is what you're saying?
He really did. And I know what I'm about to say, I'm sure women will just be like, then I give up because he's just different. He's a different breed. I mean, my husband did survive a civil war in Africa. So coming here, like nothing phases him. Like he's not intimidated. He like doesn't allow his ego to get the best of him. He really doesn't. So he supports me. He really, really does. And
yes, he does.
I know some men do get intimidated by women who are in powerful positions or who are making more money than them. I am not saying all men, and this isn't just because of my husband. I know other men where their wives make more than them and they are still biggest cheerleaders. That's my wife. She's sexy. She's a boss or whatever. Like they are not intimidated, but I know that there are some men who are intimidated. So, I don't know how to speak to that. But again, my husband, yes, he did support me. Like I had a degree over him. And then even when we got married, like I decided to pursue my master's and he still had a high school diploma. And because I love to learn and I love to be educated, like I just kept pushing him. Listen, 7 years it took me to try to convince him.
That's a good woman.
To go back to school. But do you know, on that 7th year, I actually had to learn it had to be his idea. Because once you tell me something, Shirley, I want to, let me do the research. I've got like a 5-step plan on how to do this. And like, I just get so excited to like motivate people and go after their goals. That's just me. My husband's like, no, not feeling it. He'd be excited for 5 seconds and then no. And it needed to be his idea. And in my head, I'm like, who cares? Who cares who has the idea? But again, I didn't know.
Right.
Somebody told me that. And so I went with it because I was like, listen, this is the goal. I don't care how we get there. I don't care whose idea it was. So.
Because you're a team. You're a team. You're in this together. I think that's that. But in the end, that is the goal. You're a team. You're trying to work together. You're trying to be, one is what the goal is. That's not easy.
Correct.
That's not easy.
So that was like the process. And I've always made more money than him. And I still make more money than him. I mean, Sir is getting his doctorate right now. So like, apparently something is working. But I tell you what, the grace of God, first and foremost, will order your steps throughout this entire process. But because even though like I was born again at the age of 21, like I didn't know the Bible, I still didn't know what I was supposed to do. So I'm still operating in the world as I'm learning to get closer to my God. So I really personally couldn't understand the Bible scriptures. I'm like, you want me to submit? What? You know what? You were written back BC. So
This is not modern day. This has not been revised. It has not been restructured.
I
It has
can't
not been
relate.
brought to the times.
I
Right.
can't relate. Sorry.
Right.
You want me to be a what? Are you submitting to me? Because the Bible says, husbands, you must submit to your wives as well. That's what equality
Correct.
looks like.
Correct.
But I was like, is you doing it? And when you start doing it, I'll do it.
That ain't the right mindset.
So what helped me was when I actually had children. And you are, birthing these children. They're dependent on you for a certain amount of time. And I remember when my child no longer needed me, which is what you are trying to do. You are trying to build independence in
That's
your child.
right.
This is the mission. But when they said they didn't need me, I was it tugged on my heartstring a little
Talk
bit.
about Willis.
And I realized I was just that feeling alone of not being needed, not being wanted. I was like, is that what men feel like? I was like, oh man. Right? Again, I want
so
my
good.
children to be independent of me, to
That's
grow
right.
without me.
That's
I
so
want
good.
that. But as much as I want that, and that's the mission, and that's why I gave birth to them, I still hurt a little. I was still in my feelings. Why aren't you crying the same way I'm crying taking you to preschool? What?
That's right. That's right.
So that's how I was able to empathize and understand when you're like, I'm independent, okay? I don't need you to pay my bills. I don't need you to pump my gas. And that's exactly how it was with my husband. My husband, when we were dating, he was trying to do an oil change. I don't need you to do an oil change. I got this. This man, at this point, he's like, then what am I here for? If you don't need me and you can do everything on your own.
Right there, Shirley. That was my struggle. That you just hit the nail on the head for me, because that was my struggle with my lovely Romeo husband. Okay. My Romeo husband. And that was it for us. The part where they feel like they're not needed. And that's where independence comes in, because independence means you don't need, and you are an independent. That means you're not reliant on anybody. Correct. Nothing else is bringing worth to you. You are the table. You're all the meat and potatoes at the table, and you don't need anybody else bringing things to your table, is basically what that implies. And when Romeo and I were going through our stuff, it was that was a big light bulb for me, because I said, here I am thinking I'm independent. I got my own. You came to me. I already was situated. I already had an apartment at the time. I already had a car. I already had a job. I was already standing on my own without you. So my mindset was a reminder whenever there was a little bickering.
The reminder.
It was reminder, just so you know, I don't need you. So it was those words are hurtful, especially to a man, when we're supposed to be needing our man. It's nothing's wrong with that.
Your life. How do you
Nothing
share
is wrong with that.
Your life and have power couple goals if you are constantly telling that person, I don't need you?
Not only are you telling that person out, you are shoving them out. You're not just telling them, you're telling the universe. You are telling your God, your Father, that has put you two together in ordained marriage or in your relationship, whatever, whether you're married or not, you are also telling that to the universe. I don't need this person. I don't need anybody.
You got it wrong, and God.
That's what you're going to get back, because you're constantly telling yourself that. So in essence, when you have those thoughts, you're speaking those words, and now you're acting it out in your every single day. Just think about all these obstacles you're just automatically just adopting subconsciously because you don't need anybody. And then you do end up in situations like that. You do end up in situations with a broken household, or a man that feels like he can't have a woman because they're here to provide and protect. If we're taking away their God-given job, their duty to us, we're disabling them. We're taking away their weapons.
Them.
We're taking away their reason and their purpose at the same time by doing that, just to show that we don't need them. And in fact, you may not need them financially. You can support yourself, but at the end of the day, that's not the point. That's not what we're getting at. It's not about that. It's about unity, and it's about allowing each other to make each other great. Like, yeah, you're good by yourself, girl. Don't worry. We ain't saying you ain't good by yourself. We're just saying, are you great? Are you able to shine? Are you like, because when you are loved right, you are like, they can see it on you. They're like, oh, that girl's glowing. What kind of bronzer is that? You know, it's just like, it shows when you are loved correctly. And that's what we're really here for. We're here to be a helper to our husbands.
Correct. The helper. Like, even just going back to the Bible and what you were talking about with regards to God, because he did assign you that partner. And listen, you might not even be with the right partner. Okay. And so you're upset.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this low life, this deadbeat, whatever. That may not be the right one for you. And I'm not saying go get a divorce.
Correct.
No, because you might have to check yourself too. Actually, sidebar, my husband was showing me last night, like, a podcast between men and women, and the women were like, there are no good men out there. And the guy was like, there are good men out there. They're just not looking at you. What you talking? What you? He's like, what you think? We're under a rock somewhere? We're hidden in some cave in Alaska? Like, we're here. We're just not looking at you.
Yeah.
And in fact, you may want to go back to your ex and find out why you are single. Why are you not together? Why? And I think we have a lot of tendency to do this.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't need you. You know,
right.
I can do bad all by myself.
Correct. Yeah.
How are you operating? But anyways, that's another conversation for another day.
I think this brings everybody to go back to our healing conversation, our healing episode, because in order for you to allow that trust and to kind of break out of that shell and put down your walls, you need to be able to trust again. You need to be able to be with the right partner. Now, this isn't going to work with just the wrong Joe Schmo. I ain't telling you to go get Billy Bob Joe Ray down the street and just think that, okay, I'm here to be submissive and allow you to lead. And no, that, this is not going to work that way.
You think God is bringing you a Boaz, but he's really bringing you a bozo. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm talking about
discernment.
Yes, ladies, I am talking about when you have a good man, a real man, and that and what that looks like, and positioning yourself to be that person. So if you are so strongly independent and a good man and a strong man and an able man sees you, yeah, it may be intimidating. I know Shirley brought that up where she's like, some men get intimidated, some men don't. I don't think it's all intimidation. I think that they are like, am I going to ever break through that shell in order to provide to her? Am I able to add to her plate? Am I able to bring something to her table? Or is she already showing me, I don't need you? Is that the attitude? Is that what you're projecting? Is that what's going on? Because again, you're putting out in the universe that you don't need that person. So when you're being approached, it's not that it's all about them being intimidated by you or them not wanting you to be successful and be your own person. It's more so about, are you willing enough to allow a man to be a man? And that's where the line gets drawn. And that's where things, I think, get fumbled.
Yes. And again, like Miss Lily had talked about, like, that's why you need to take the time to heal, review your trauma. Like,
you do.
You need to heal, because honestly, even take the spouse aside from it. Like, we have to depend on our God.
Right.
Step one.
Back it up. Start from the beginning. Start from the beginning.
One, the creator, the one who knew his plans for you before your mommy and your daddy even met.
That's right.
That one, you got to depend on him, and then maybe depending on your husband's a little bit easier. But for real, surrendering to God. I surrender all. We sing it all the time. We really do. And then come time Monday morning, even Sunday evening, I'm taking out the trash. I ain't surrendering. need your help. You need to be able, I know it's easier said than done. You need to be able to even surrender and submit to God. Allow Him to order your steps. I know you've been independent. You got this game plan. You got them vision boards, not even every year, every quarter. And you're checking off. I did that. I did that. Listen, I used to be cray-cray, running around like a chicken with her head cut off. And even like my mentor told me, like, God said that to her, like, I didn't ask her to do that. I was trying to be independent, do all of this. I can do all of this on my own, blah, blah, blah.
That.
God did not ask for that.
That's right.
Destiny helpers.
So you have your vision boards, you have your idea, and then there's God's. And then God has his vision board for you. So I don't know what your vision board looks like side by side to his. I don't know if it's mirrored. I don't know if it's completely opposites. Do you remember the school where we would make the circles and then we had the middle piece and it was like, what were the differences and then what was the same? And that same was always like this big, right? This is the same in the middle. So we have to find peace with that same in the middle because this is what's going to be happening here. But I think aligning ourselves and remembering and allowing, I think what I have done first, Shirley, if I was having a problem with healing, trusting, believing, hope, and faith, I always turn to God first because I feel like I can at the very least you can do is put your faith in God. And I mean fully, to fully say, you know what? I'm worried about this situation. I'm a little worried to let go a little bit. I'm a little worried to let this man take control. I'm a little worried if he's going to do this. How about you stop all that worrying and let God work with that? Because no matter what happens, I do truly believe in my whole heart and my whole entire soul that God will work every single thing out in your favor.
For your good.
Whatever it is. Even for your good, for your favor. I know he will. I know he will.
Even if you derail, he'll always bring it back. He's like, listen, this was the original plan. It's okay if it's delayed. Like, shoot, Amazon be delaying all the time with our packages. Like, it's okay.
Right.
You know, it'll always come full circle. But what you had brought up something so good with regards to obviously just talking about God. Like, you know, sometimes God just be like, is that what I told you to do?
Is that what you got from what I told you to do? Because we're so creative, right? We're so creative. We're just like, I have this idea. You know, we're just like, oh, this is what's
clearly you deposited this, clearly, and you want me to run with it, right? I'm not even going to ask you next steps. I'm just going to run with it. I got this.
He did. We fluffed it. We fluffed it.
You sit back in your lounge chair and watch me, God. Okay. Yeah. But what? So God gives us so much grace when we just run with it. You've got to be able to give the same grace to your spouse, even when they mess up.
That's right.
So you're releasing that trust and that faith into them, and they mess up.
Yeah.
How are you going to respond? You cannot. See, I told you. That's why I don't trust men. The same way, not only God gives you grace, how many times did your mama give you grace? How many times did you foul up and your mama still let you back in the house, still provided for you? She still gave you grace, right? How much grace are you giving to your husband? Not one time, not two times, not three times.
Over and over. It's a practice.
It is a practice. Woo,
we can talk about that on the next segment if you want. We can carry this into the next one and retouch and bring it back to this exact same conversation and talk about what do we do when it's not working? How do we handle it then? How do we approach it? How do we keep going? How do we stick to what we're saying, what we're going to do?
Yes. So stay tuned.
Ooh.
The next episode gonna be juicy. Girl, this one was juicy. Woo! I'm living my whole life. Thank you so much for joining us today. We truly love you. Seriously, like the support, the comments, everything keeps coming through. We love you so much. Continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us and like us on our Facebook platform, Instagram, and TikTok. TikTok is showing out. So thank you so much.
TikTok is showing. TikTok is where it's at, apparently. We're loving it. We love you guys. It's amazing being here. Please continue to watch us. See us again. And Shirley, lead us out.
Stay blessed. See you next time. Love you. Mwah.
Love you all. Bye.